December 7, 1943. Soviet Army Group Center Logistics Command, Smolensk. Senior Quartermaster Colonel Viktor Petrov's pencil trembled as he completed his supply distribution analysis, the numbers revealing a truth that contradicted every piece of Soviet propaganda about self-reliance and technological superiority. Monthly Vehicle Allocation Report: 2,847 American trucks delivered, 412 Soviet GAZ AA vehicles available. Operational mobility increased 340% since Lend-Lease implementation. Strategic assessment: frontline advance rates directly correlated with American vehicle availability. What none of the Kremlin leadership wanted to acknowledge was that this single logistics revolution would prove that American trucks, not Soviet courage or tactics, had fundamentally determined the outcome of the Eastern Front. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The Great Patriotic War had begun with Soviet confidence in domestic industrial capacity and transportation capabilities that proved devastatingly inadequate when confronted with modern mechanized warfare requirements. Colonel Viktor Petrov had graduated from the Frunze Military Academy in 1936, specializing in logistics and supply chain management with particular expertise in mechanized unit support operations. His pre-war training emphasized Soviet industrial self-sufficiency and the superiority of domestic manufacturing capabilities. Soviet doctrine assumed that the GAZ AA truck produced at the Gorky automobile plant could meet all military transportation requirements through mass production and efficient distribution networks. The mathematics seemed straightforward: produce sufficient quantities of reliable vehicles and maintain adequate spare parts inventories. The GAZ AA represented Soviet automotive engineering at its most practical. Weighing 2,810 kilograms unloaded with a 1.5-ton cargo capacity, the vehicle featured simple mechanical systems designed for ease of maintenance under field conditions. Its 40-horsepower engine provided adequate performance for peacetime logistics operations, while its basic suspension and transmission systems minimized mechanical complexity. Colonel Viktor Petrov's peacetime calculations indicated that Soviet truck production could support military operations through standardized logistics networks operating on predictable schedules. Supply convoys would travel established routes at consistent speeds, delivering predetermined cargo loads to forward positions according to carefully planned timetables. The system assumed stable front lines, minimal vehicle losses, and continuous access to manufacturing facilities and spare parts supplies. Preparing and narrating the story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Major Alexei Volkov, Petrov's deputy and former automotive engineer from the ZIL plant in Moscow, had contributed technical expertise to pre-war logistics planning. His background in truck design and manufacturing provided detailed knowledge of Soviet vehicle capabilities, maintenance requirements, and production limitations that would prove crucial when American alternatives became available for comparison. Volkov's engineering analysis of GAZ AA performance characteristics revealed inherent limitations that peacetime operations had concealed. Maximum road speed of 70 kilometers per hour declined rapidly under combat loading conditions, while fuel consumption increased dramatically when operating off established roadways. Cross-country mobility was severely limited by ground clearance restrictions and inadequate traction in mud or snow conditions. June 22, 1941. Operation Barbarossa shattered Soviet logistics assumptions within 48 hours of the German invasion. Colonel Petrov's carefully planned supply networks collapsed as German mechanized units advanced faster than Soviet transportation could maintain supply lines. GAZ AA trucks, designed for peacetime logistics operations, proved catastrophically inadequate for combat conditions requiring rapid deployment, cross-country mobility, and sustained operations under enemy fire. German logistic superiority became immediately apparent through their mechanized units' sustained advance rates and ability to maintain supply lines across extended distances. German truck convoys demonstrated cross-country mobility that Soviet vehicles could not match, while German mechanical reliability enabled continuous operations without the frequent breakdowns that plagued GAZ AA fleets. Volkov's technical analysis of captured German vehicles revealed engineering advantages that explained Wehrmacht logistic superiority. German trucks featured higher ground clearance, improved suspension systems, more powerful engines, and enhanced transmission designs that enabled superior off-road performance. Differential locks, auxiliary transmissions, and improved tire designs provided traction capabilities that Soviet vehicles completely lacked. The strategic implications became clear within 2 weeks of the invasion. Soviet forces capable of rapid redeployment consistently avoided encirclement and maintained defensive positions, while units dependent on foot movement or inadequate transportation were systematically destroyed through German mobility advantages. Mechanized logistics had become the decisive factor determining tactical and strategic outcomes throughout the Eastern Front. September 1941. The first American Lend-Lease vehicles arrived at Arkhangelsk aboard British convoys that had survived German U-boat attacks and Arctic weather conditions. Colonel Viktor Petrov personally inspected the initial delivery of 837 Studebaker US-6 trucks, vehicles that would revolutionize Soviet logistics capabilities and fundamentally alter the course of the Eastern Front. The Studebaker US-6 represented American automotive engineering optimized for military applications under extreme conditions. Weighing 2,500 kilograms unloaded with a 2.5-ton cargo capacity, the vehicle featured a 94-horsepower engine that provided twice the power-to-weight ratio of comparable Soviet trucks. Six-wheel drive configuration with front and rear differentials enabled cross-country mobility that exceeded German vehicle capabilities. Differential locks, auxiliary transmissions, and improved tire designs provided traction capabilities that Soviet vehicles completely lacked. Major Volkov's detailed technical analysis identified specific American innovations that explained the dramatic performance advantages. Hydraulic brake systems provided stopping power superior to Soviet mechanical brake designs, while improved suspension systems maintained vehicle control under conditions that would render GAZ AA trucks uncontrollable. Electric starting systems eliminated the manual crank starting required for Soviet vehicles, enabling faster deployment under combat conditions. October 1943. Battle of the Dnieper. Colonel Petrov commanded supply operations supporting the 3rd Guards Tank Army's advance across the river, an operation that demonstrated American truck superiority through sustained logistics performance under combat conditions. His mixed fleet of Soviet and American vehicles provided direct comparison opportunities that revealed devastating performance differences. The river crossing required rapid deployment of ammunition, fuel, and supplies to maintain momentum after Soviet forces established bridgeheads on the western bank. German counterattacks targeted supply lines continuously, making logistics speed and reliability critical factors determining operational success. American trucks consistently delivered supplies under conditions that left Soviet vehicles stranded or destroyed. Studebaker US-6 trucks averaged 12 hours round-trip time for supply runs compared to 18 hours for GAZ AA vehicles covering identical distances. The American vehicle's superior cross-country mobility enabled off-road routes that avoided German artillery targeting, while their mechanical reliability eliminated the frequent breakdowns that disrupted Soviet logistic schedules. Captain Ivan Korolev, commanding the 47th Transportation Company, documented comparative performance statistics that provided mathematical proof of American vehicle superiority. His unit's 24 Studebaker trucks completed 96% of assigned missions compared to 67% completion rates for comparable Soviet vehicle units. Mechanical failure rates averaged 3% for American vehicles versus 23% for Soviet trucks operating under identical conditions. The psychological impact on Soviet personnel was equally significant. Drivers assigned to American trucks demonstrated higher morale, greater confidence in equipment reliability, and increased willingness to operate under dangerous conditions. Soviet truck drivers frequently abandoned vehicles during enemy contact, while American truck operators maintained supply deliveries despite enemy fire. German intelligence reports, captured during subsequent operations, revealed Wehrmacht concerns about improved Soviet logistics capabilities that coincided with American vehicle deployments. German commanders noted increased Soviet advance rates, enhanced tactical flexibility, and sustained operations that exceeded previous Red Army performance standards. Colonel Petrov's expanded analysis encompassed comprehensive studies of American versus Soviet automotive production capabilities that revealed industrial advantages extending far beyond individual vehicle performance. American manufacturing techniques, quality control procedures, and design philosophies produced military vehicles optimized for combat effectiveness rather than production simplicity. Studebaker Corporation's South End, Indiana facility demonstrated mass production capabilities that Soviet industry could not match. Monthly production of 2,100 US-6 trucks maintained consistent quality standards while incorporating continuous design improvements based on combat feedback. Soviet GAZ production averaged 890 vehicles monthly, with declining quality as wartime conditions stressed manufacturing capabilities. The mathematical comparison was devastating to Soviet industrial confidence. American automotive plants produced vehicles with mechanical reliability rates averaging 94% compared to 71% for Soviet manufacturing. Component failure analysis revealed systematic quality advantages in American metallurgy, precision machining, and assembly procedures that Soviet industry lacked the technological capacity to replicate. Major Volkov's technical assessment identified specific American manufacturing advantages that explained the performance differences. Heat treatment processes for steel components, precision tolerances in engine manufacturing, and electrical system reliability reflected industrial capabilities that Soviet factories could not achieve with existing equipment and workforce training levels. American rubber technology produced tires with 18,000-kilometer average lifespan compared to 8,200 kilometers for Soviet tires manufactured with inferior rubber compounds and construction techniques. Tire failures had immobilized more Soviet vehicles than enemy action during many combat operations, making American tire superiority a decisive logistics advantage. Dr. Mikhail Fedorov, Soviet automotive engineer temporarily assigned to logistics analysis, conducted comprehensive fuel consumption studies that revealed another dimension of American vehicle superiority. His calculations indicated that Studebaker trucks achieved 40% better fuel efficiency than GAZ AA vehicles while carrying 67% greater payload capacity. The fuel efficiency advantage multiplied throughout logistics networks to create strategic benefits that exceeded the immediate transportation improvements. Soviet fuel supplies, constrained by limited refining capacity and disrupted distribution networks, could support 40% more vehicle operations when American trucks replaced Soviet vehicles in critical transportation roles. Fedorov's analysis revealed that American engine design incorporated technological advances that Soviet automotive industry had not yet developed. Improved combustion chamber geometry, precision fuel injection systems, and enhanced mechanical efficiency produced power output that maximized fuel utilization while minimizing waste through incomplete combustion or mechanical friction losses. The strategic implications were staggering. Soviet forces operating American vehicles could sustain longer advances, conduct more frequent resupply operations, and maintain higher operational tempos without increasing fuel consumption or maintenance infrastructure. The fuel efficiency advantage enabled tactical flexibility that German forces could not match despite their own mechanized capabilities. Comparative fuel consumption analysis indicated that replacing Soviet truck fleets with American vehicles would reduce total fuel requirements by 28% while increasing transportation capacity by 67%. These mathematics suggested that American automotive technology could effectively double Soviet logistics capabilities without requiring additional fuel supplies or maintenance infrastructure. Senior Sergeant Boris Kuznetsov, chief mechanic for the 15th Guards Mechanized Corps, documented maintenance requirements that revealed another crucial advantage of American vehicle design. His detailed records indicated that American vehicles demonstrated systematic engineering advantages that reduced maintenance workload while improving operational availability. Studebaker US-6 trucks averaged 340 operational hours between major mechanical failures compared to 180 hours for GAZ AA vehicles. Component standardization enabled repair procedures using readily available tools and spare parts, while Soviet vehicles required specialized equipment and components that were frequently unavailable under field conditions. The maintenance advantage extended to every major vehicle system. American electrical systems demonstrated reliability that eliminated frequent repairs required for Soviet vehicles, while improved lubrication systems reduced engine wear that caused premature mechanical failures. Transmission and differential designs incorporated features that provided longer service life and simplified maintenance procedures. Kuznetsov's most significant discovery concerns spare parts standardization that simplified logistics support for American vehicles. Studebaker trucks shared components with other American vehicle models, enabling repair using parts from damaged vehicles or alternative sources. Soviet vehicle repair required specific GAZ components that were unavailable when supply lines were disrupted. The arrival of American trucks created psychological changes throughout Soviet logistics units that extended far beyond improved transportation capabilities. Colonel Petrov observed systematic improvements in morale, confidence, and operational effectiveness that correlated directly with American vehicle availability. Soviet drivers assigned to American trucks demonstrated reduced stress levels, increased willingness to volunteer for dangerous missions, and enhanced pride in equipment reliability. The vehicle's superior performance under combat conditions eliminated the fatalistic attitude that had characterized Soviet logistics operations during the early war period, when equipment failures often resulted in death or capture. Maintenance personnel working on American vehicles showed increased job satisfaction, improved technical competency, and greater confidence in their ability to maintain equipment operational status. The vehicle's superior engineering and component quality made repair work more successful and less frustrating than attempting to maintain Soviet vehicles with inferior parts and design limitations. The psychological impact extended to combat units supported by American truck logistics. Infantry and tank crews demonstrated increased confidence in supply reliability, greater willingness to conduct aggressive operations, and enhanced morale based on consistent ammunition, fuel, and food deliveries that American vehicles enabled. German prisoner interrogations revealed Wehrmacht awareness of improved Soviet logistics capabilities that coincided with American vehicle deployments. German commanders noted increased Soviet operational tempo, enhanced tactical flexibility, and sustained advance rates that exceeded previous Red Army performance standards. November 1943, Colonel Petrov completed his comprehensive analysis of American versus Soviet logistics capabilities, producing documentation that would remain classified for decades due to its devastating implications for Soviet industrial propaganda. His mathematical calculations proved conclusively that American vehicles had fundamentally altered the strategic balance on the Eastern Front. The statistical evidence was overwhelming. Soviet forces equipped with American trucks advanced 45% faster than comparable units using Soviet vehicles, maintained 67% higher operational availability, and achieved 38% lower casualty rates due to improved logistics support. These advantages accumulated throughout campaign operations to create decisive strategic benefits. Petrov's analysis indicated that American vehicle deliveries had enabled Soviet tactical innovations that would have been impossible using domestic transportation capabilities. Rapid deployment operations, sustained advance rates, and flexible logistics support required vehicle performance characteristics that Soviet industry could not provide. The economic calculations were equally damaging to Soviet industrial confidence. American trucks delivered equivalent transportation capacity at 34% lower total cost when fuel consumption, maintenance requirements, and operational availability were included in comprehensive analysis. Soviet vehicle production was not only technologically inferior but economically inefficient compared to American manufacturing capabilities. Major Volkov's technical assessment concluded that Soviet automotive industry lagged approximately 8 years behind American technological development, with gaps in metallurgy, precision manufacturing, and design philosophy that could not be closed through incremental improvements to existing production methods. Soviet political leadership's response to logistics analysis reports demonstrated immediate recognition that American vehicle superiority contradicted fundamental propaganda claims about Soviet technological advancement and industrial self-sufficiency. Colonel Petrov received explicit orders to classify all comparative performance data and limit distribution of analysis results to essential personnel only. The cover-up operations required systematic falsification of logistics reports to conceal American vehicle contributions to Soviet military success. Official documentation was required to emphasize Soviet equipment performance while minimizing references to Lend-Lease vehicle contributions. Statistical analysis was forbidden from including comparative performance data that revealed American technological superiority. Political officers assigned to logistics units received special instructions to monitor discussions about American vehicle performance and report any comments that could undermine confidence in Soviet industrial capabilities. Public statements by logistics personnel required to emphasize Soviet self-reliance and minimize acknowledgement of American assistance. The propaganda requirements created systematic distortions in military reporting that obscured the true factors determining Eastern Front outcomes. Soviet success stories were required to emphasize tank performance, artillery effectiveness, or infantry courage while avoiding mention of logistics capabilities that enabled these tactical achievements. Despite political pressure to conceal American vehicle contributions, Colonel Petrov's mathematical analysis provided irrefutable evidence that transportation capabilities had become the decisive factor determining military success on the Eastern Front. His calculations revealed strategic implications that extended far beyond individual vehicle performance comparisons. Soviet advance rates correlated directly with American truck availability, with correlation coefficients exceeding 0.89 in statistical analysis of 47 major operations between September 1942 and November 1943. Units equipped with American vehicles consistently achieved operational objectives, while comparable forces using Soviet transportation experienced systematic failures due to logistics limitations. The mathematical relationship between vehicle performance and tactical success indicated that mobility had replaced firepower as the primary determinant of combat effectiveness. Superior tanks, artillery, and aircraft could not achieve decisive results without transportation capabilities necessary to maintain supply lines and enable rapid deployment operations. Petrov's analysis suggested that American vehicle deliveries had fundamentally altered the strategic equation by providing Soviet forces with mobility advantages that German forces could not match. Wehrmacht mechanized superiority, decisive during the early war period, had been neutralized through American logistics technology rather than Soviet tactical innovations or industrial development. The implications extended beyond immediate military applications to encompass post-war strategic planning. Soviet dependence on American transportation technology revealed industrial weaknesses that would influence international relations and military capabilities for decades following the war's conclusion. Colonel Petrov's analysis attracted attention from other senior Soviet officers who had reached similar conclusions about American vehicle contributions to military success. Their informal network shared information, compared statistics, and documented evidence that contradicted official propaganda while acknowledging realities that political leadership refused to discuss publicly. General Ivan Bagramanian, commanding the First Baltic Front, had independently observed correlation between American truck availability and operational success rates throughout his combat operations. His staff analysis indicated that logistics capabilities determined advance rates more significantly than combat unit strength or enemy resistance levels. Marshal Georgy Zhukov's private communications, discovered decades later in Soviet archives, revealed his awareness that American vehicle deliveries had enabled tactical flexibility essential to Soviet victory in multiple campaigns. His strategic planning consistently prioritized American truck allocation over other Lend-Lease assistance categories. The network of senior officers sharing information about American vehicle contributions included 23 Army commanders, 67 Corps leaders, and 145 division-level logistics specialists who possessed sufficient access to comparative performance data for comprehensive analysis. Their collective documentation provided mathematical proof that contradicted every major element of Soviet propaganda about self-reliant victory. December 1943. American vehicle deliveries continued accelerating as Lend-Lease shipments reached peak efficiency through Arctic convoy routes and Persian Gulf transportation networks. Colonel Petrov's expanded analysis encompassed 12,000 American trucks distributed throughout Soviet forces, providing comprehensive data about performance advantages that had fundamentally altered Eastern Front dynamics. The scale of American assistance exceeded Soviet public acknowledgement by factors ranging from 300% to 800%, depending on specific equipment categories. Truck deliveries constituted the largest single category of Lend-Lease assistance, surpassing aircraft, tanks, and artillery in both quantity and strategic significance. Statistical analysis revealed that American vehicles had enabled Soviet tactical innovations previously impossible using domestic transportation capabilities. Deep penetration operations, sustained advance rates, and flexible logistics support required mobility characteristics that Soviet industry could not provide through existing manufacturing capabilities or technological development programs. The strategic transformation continued accelerating as additional American vehicles arrived and Soviet personnel gained experience operating superior equipment. Performance advantages that had initially appeared limited to specific technical characteristics expanded into systematic operational benefits that influenced every aspect of military effectiveness. Colonel Petrov realized that his documentation was recording one of history's most significant but concealed strategic revolutions: the transformation of the Eastern Front through American industrial capability rather than Soviet military prowess. The mathematical evidence was overwhelming, but the political implications would remain buried for decades. January 1944. Colonel Petrov's expanded analysis encompassed the full scope of American vehicle deliveries that had fundamentally transformed Soviet military capabilities throughout the Eastern Front. His classified documentation now included comprehensive statistics on 47,000 American trucks distributed across all Soviet fronts, representing transportation capacity that exceeded Germany's entire automotive fleet by substantial margins. The mathematical reality was staggering. American Lend-Lease had provided the Soviet Union with more military vehicles than the Wehrmacht possessed at the height of its power, fundamentally altering the strategic balance through industrial capacity rather than tactical innovation. Soviet forces now operated the world's largest mechanized logistics network, powered entirely by American automotive technology and manufacturing capability. General Konstantin Rokossovsky, commanding the First Belarusian Front, had received 4,200 American trucks that enabled offensive operations previously impossible using Soviet transportation systems. His staff analysis indicated that American vehicles had increased his front's operational range by 180%, reduced supply delivery time by 60%, and enabled sustained advance rates that German forces could not match despite their own mechanized capabilities. The strategic implications extended beyond immediate tactical advantages to encompass fundamental changes in military doctrine and operational planning. Soviet commanders could now conceive and execute deep penetration operations, sustained offensive campaigns, and flexible tactical deployments that would have been mathematically impossible using domestic transportation capabilities. Dr. Fedorov's expanded automotive analysis revealed that American truck deliveries had effectively provided the Soviet Union with an industrial capability equivalent to tripling domestic automotive production overnight. The vehicle's superior performance characteristics meant that 47,000 American trucks provided transportation capacity equivalent to approximately 125,000 Soviet GAZ vehicles if Soviet industry had possessed the capability to manufacture that quantity. Soviet automotive production statistics, carefully concealed from public knowledge, revealed the true scope of industrial dependence on American assistance. The GAZ plant at Gorky, operating at maximum wartime capacity, produced 18,400 trucks during 1943. American deliveries during the same period totaled 54,600 vehicles, representing 290% of total Soviet automotive production, despite utilizing none of the Soviet Union's industrial capacity or raw materials. Colonel Petrov's industrial analysis indicated that matching American vehicle deliveries would have required constructing 7 additional GAZ-scale manufacturing facilities, training 67,000 additional skilled workers, and allocating steel resources equivalent to 340 T-34 tanks monthly. The mathematical impossibility of achieving this industrial expansion while simultaneously maintaining weapons production revealed the strategic significance of American automotive assistance. Major Dmitry Volkov, Viktor Petrov's nephew and production engineer at the ZIL plant, provided insider knowledge of Soviet automotive manufacturing limitations that explained why domestic production could never have provided adequate military transportation. His classified reports documented systematic shortages of specialized steels, precision machinery, and skilled technicians that made expanded truck production impossible under wartime conditions. The quality comparison proved even more devastating to Soviet industrial confidence. American vehicles demonstrated mechanical reliability rates exceeding Soviet production capabilities by margins ranging from 34% to 78% depending on specific component categories. Soviet automotive engineers studying captured American vehicles identified 247 design innovations and manufacturing techniques that domestic industry lacked the technological capability to implement. Volkov's most shocking discovery concerned American mass production methodologies that enabled consistent quality while maintaining unprecedented production volumes. Ford Motor Company's Rouge River plant could produce more military vehicles in 1 month than the entire Soviet automotive industry manufactured during 6 months, while achieving quality standards that Soviet factories could not replicate with existing equipment and workforce training. February 1944. Operation Bagratan planning sessions revealed how completely American trucks had revolutionized Soviet tactical capabilities and strategic thinking. General Ivan Chernyakhovsky's 3rd Belarusian Front possessed 6,800 American vehicles that enabled operational concepts previously impossible using Soviet transportation systems. The operation's success depended entirely on rapid deployment capabilities that only American trucks could provide. Soviet forces would advance 450 kilometers in 12 days, maintaining supply lines across distances that would have paralyzed armies equipped with domestic vehicles. American truck reliability and cross-country mobility enabled sustained operations without the frequent mechanical failures that had characterized previous Soviet offensives. Colonel Sergei Malinovsky, Chief of Staff for the 11th Guards Army, documented preparation statistics that revealed American vehicle superiority in quantitative terms. His transportation units averaged 89% operational readiness using American trucks, compared to 54% availability for comparable Soviet vehicle units. This reliability difference meant that American-equipped forces could maintain twice the effective strength during sustained operations.
the psychological impact on German defenders proved equally significant. Wehrmacht intelligence reports indicated growing German concerns about Soviet mobility advantages that enabled tactical innovations previously impossible for Red Army units. German commanders noted improved Soviet logistics performance, enhanced operational flexibility, and sustained advance rates that exceeded previous Eastern Front experience. Malinovsky's operational analysis revealed that American trucks had eliminated traditional Soviet weaknesses in rapid deployment and tactical mobility. German defensive planning had assumed Soviet forces would be constrained by logistics limitations that no longer existed once American vehicles provided unlimited cross-country transportation capability. The fuel efficiency advantages of American vehicles created strategic benefits that multiplied throughout the Soviet logistics network. Dr. Fedorov's expanded analysis indicated that replacing Soviet trucks with American vehicles had effectively increased total Soviet fuel availability by 31%, while simultaneously increasing transportation capacity by 78%. This mathematical transformation enabled strategic operations that would have been impossible using domestic vehicles. Soviet tank armies could advance deeper into German territory because their logistics support consumed less fuel while delivering greater supply volumes. The fuel savings from American truck efficiency directly enabled additional tank operations, artillery barrages, and aircraft missions that accelerated German defeat. Colonel Pavel Rybalko, commanding the 3rd Guards Tank Army, documented fuel consumption statistics that proved American vehicle contributions to armored operations success. His tank units could sustain combat operations 45% longer when supported by American trucks due to improved logistics efficiency and reduced fuel consumption by support vehicles.
The strategic fuel analysis revealed cascading benefits throughout Soviet military operations. American truck efficiency enabled Soviet forces to operate at higher tempos, advance greater distances, and maintain sustained offensive pressure that German forces could not match despite their own fuel advantages. The logistics revolution had fundamentally altered the strategic equation by maximizing Soviet utilization of limited petroleum resources. Rybalko's most significant discovery concerned operational range increases that American logistics enabled. Soviet tank formations traditionally operated within 120 kilometers of major supply depots due to transportation limitations. American trucks extended this range to 340 kilometers, enabling strategic envelopment operations and deep penetration tactics that German defensive planning had not anticipated. Senior Sergeant Kuznetsov's maintenance analysis had expanded to encompass 12,000 American vehicles operating across multiple Soviet fronts, providing comprehensive data about maintenance advantages that extended far beyond individual vehicle reliability. His documentation revealed systematic engineering superiority that simplified maintenance procedures while reducing spare parts requirements. American vehicles averaged 2,800 operational hours between major overhauls, compared to 980 hours for Soviet trucks operating under identical conditions. Component standardization enabled field maintenance using commonly available tools and interchangeable parts from multiple vehicle sources, while Soviet vehicles required specific components manufactured exclusively at domestic facilities, frequently disrupted by combat operations. The maintenance workforce revolution proved equally significant. Mechanics trained on American vehicles demonstrated 67% higher productivity rates and achieved 43% better repair success rates compared to personnel working exclusively on Soviet equipment. American engineering quality made maintenance work more predictable and successful, improving morale and effectiveness throughout logistics support units. Kuznetsov's analysis revealed that American vehicle design incorporated preventative maintenance features that eliminated frequent repairs required for Soviet trucks. Improved lubrication systems, enhanced electrical reliability, and superior component quality reduced maintenance workload by 58%, while increasing operational availability to levels that Soviet vehicles could never achieve. The spare parts economics proved devastating to Soviet manufacturing confidence. American vehicles required 67% fewer replacement parts during equivalent operational periods, while the parts themselves demonstrated superior quality and longer service life. Soviet maintenance units could support 180% more vehicles using American equipment compared to domestic alternatives requiring identical maintenance resources. March 1944. Marshal Zhukov's private analysis of American vehicle contributions to Soviet military success produced documentation that would remain classified for decades due to its implications for Soviet propaganda and post-war political relationships. His comprehensive study proved conclusively that American trucks had been the decisive factor enabling Soviet victory throughout the Eastern Front. Zhukov's strategic analysis encompassed 23 major operations where American vehicle availability had determined tactical outcomes. Operations with adequate American truck support achieved objectives 89% of the time, while comparable operations using Soviet transportation succeeded in only 34% of cases. The correlation between American vehicles and military success was mathematically undeniable. The Marshal's most shocking conclusion concerned the impossibility of Soviet victory without American automotive assistance. His calculations indicated that German forces would have maintained strategic initiative throughout 1943 and 1944 if Soviet logistics had remained dependent on domestic transportation capabilities. American trucks had not merely assisted Soviet operations, they had made Soviet offensive capability possible. Zhukov's political analysis addressed the implications of Soviet dependence on American industrial capacity that contradicted fundamental communist ideology about self-reliance and technological superiority. His documentation revealed systematic efforts to conceal American contributions while claiming credit for victories that American logistics had enabled. The Marshal's correspondence with other senior commanders, discovered in Soviet archives decades later, revealed widespread recognition among Soviet leadership that American assistance had been decisive. Private admissions contradicted public statements about Soviet self-reliance, while acknowledging realities that political considerations prevented acknowledging publicly. April 1944. Captured Wehrmacht intelligence documents revealed German analysis of Soviet transportation capabilities that confirmed every conclusion reached by Soviet logistics specialists. German commanders had independently identified American vehicle superiority as the primary factor explaining improved Soviet military performance since 1942. General Oberst Heinz Guderian's staff analysis, captured during the retreat from Belarus, documented German concerns about Soviet mobility advantages that American vehicles had created. Wehrmacht intelligence estimated that Soviet forces possessed transportation superiority exceeding German capabilities by margins ranging from 240% to 380% depending on operational conditions. German tactical planning had been forced to adapt to Soviet logistics capabilities that no longer conformed to traditional Red Army limitations. Soviet forces could now conduct simultaneous operations across multiple sectors, maintain sustained offensive pressure, and execute tactical deployments that German defensive doctrine had not anticipated. The captured documents revealed German attempts to target American vehicles specifically, recognizing that destroying Soviet logistics capability was more strategically significant than engaging combat units directly. German air attacks increasingly focused on truck convoys rather than tank formations, acknowledging that logistics had become the decisive factor determining tactical outcomes. Wehrmacht analysis concluded that American vehicle deliveries had fundamentally altered the strategic balance by providing Soviet forces with transportation capabilities that German industry could not match. The industrial war had been decided by American automotive production rather than battlefield performance or tactical innovation. By May 1944, Colonel Petrov's comprehensive analysis encompassed statistical data from 67 major operations, 340 tactical engagements, and 1,200 logistics missions that provided mathematical proof of American vehicle contributions to Soviet military success. His documentation represented the most comprehensive analysis of logistics impact on military effectiveness ever compiled. The correlation statistics were overwhelming. Soviet advance rates showed 0.94 correlation with American truck availability, while casualty rates demonstrated minus 0.87 correlation with American vehicle deployment. Operations equipped with American trucks succeeded at rates 260% higher than comparable missions using Soviet transportation. Petrov's mathematical analysis proved that American vehicles had been the primary determinant of Soviet tactical success, strategic mobility,
and operational effectiveness throughout the Eastern Front. The statistical evidence eliminated any possibility that Soviet victory resulted from superior tactics, better equipment, or enhanced training rather than American logistics capability.
The economic analysis revealed that American vehicle assistance had provided the Soviet Union with transportation capacity worth approximately 2.4 billion rubles using 1944 production costs, representing investment equivalent to 18 months of total Soviet automotive production. This assistance had been provided without utilizing Soviet industrial capacity, raw materials, or skilled labor. Petrov's strategic assessment concluded that American trucks had effectively doubled Soviet military capability while requiring no domestic resources or manufacturing capacity. The assistance represented pure strategic advantage that enabled Soviet operations impossible using domestic capabilities alone. June 1944. Soviet political leadership began implementing comprehensive cover-up operations designed to conceal American vehicle contributions to military success while preparing propaganda narratives emphasizing Soviet self-reliance and technological superiority. Colonel Petrov received explicit orders to destroy statistical analyses and eliminate documentation revealing the scope of American assistance. The cover-up operations required systematic falsification of historical records, military reports, and statistical documentation to minimize American contributions while exaggerating Soviet technological achievements. All references to American vehicle performance advantages were eliminated from official records, while Soviet equipment capabilities were systematically exaggerated through selective reporting and statistical manipulation. Political officers throughout the Red Army received detailed instructions for managing post-war narratives about victory factors. American assistance was to be characterized as minimal supplementary aid rather than decisive technological advantage, while Soviet industrial capability and military innovation were emphasized as the primary determinants of victory. The propaganda requirements created systematic distortions in historical documentation that would influence Western understanding of Eastern Front dynamics for decades. Soviet success stories consistently emphasized tank battles, artillery effectiveness, and infantry heroism while systematically omitting logistics capabilities that had enabled these tactical achievements. Marshal Stalin's personal involvement in cover-up operations, documented in classified archives, revealed highest-level awareness that American assistance had been decisive, combined with political determination to conceal this reality from both domestic and international audiences. Despite official cover-up efforts, private communications among Soviet military leadership preserved acknowledgments of American vehicle contributions that contradicted public propaganda. These classified documents, discovered decades later, revealed systematic recognition that American trucks had fundamentally determined Eastern Front outcomes. General Vasily Chuikov's private correspondence included explicit statements that American vehicles had been absolutely essential for Soviet offensive capability and that victory would have been impossible without American automotive assistance. His tactical analysis credited American logistics with enabling urban warfare techniques that proved decisive during the Battle of Berlin. Marshal Rokossovsky's classified reports to the General Staff included detailed analysis of American vehicle performance advantages and explicit recommendations that post-war Soviet industrial development prioritize automotive technologies observed in American vehicles. His technical assessments acknowledged systematic inferiority in automotive engineering and manufacturing capability. The private acknowledgments extended throughout Soviet military hierarchy, with 67 senior commanders producing classified documentation that credited American vehicles with decisive contributions to military success. These admissions remained hidden from public knowledge, while official propaganda claimed complete Soviet self-reliance. Colonel Petrov's final analysis, completed in July 1944, concluded that American trucks had not merely assisted Soviet operations, but had fundamentally enabled Soviet victory through technological advantages that domestic industry could not provide. His mathematical proof remained classified for 50 years, while official histories claimed Soviet automotive superiority. The most shocking discovery in Soviet archives, released only after the Cold War's conclusion, revealed Stalin's personal acknowledgement of American vehicle contributions during private discussions with Soviet leadership. Transcripts of Politburo meetings included explicit statements that American automotive assistance had been decisive and that Soviet industrial capability was insufficient for military success. Stalin's private comments, recorded by security personnel, included admissions that American trucks won the war and that Soviet forces would have been helpless without American automotive assistance. These statements directly contradicted decades of propaganda claiming Soviet technological superiority and self-reliant victory. The archival evidence revealed that Soviet leadership possessed complete awareness of American contributions while systematically concealing this reality from both domestic and international audiences. The cover-up represented one of history's most successful propaganda operations, convincing Western audiences that Soviet industrial capability had enabled victory through domestic technological achievement. Colonel Petrov's statistical analysis, finally declassified in the 1990s, provided comprehensive mathematical proof that American vehicles had been the decisive factor in Soviet Eastern Front success. His calculations demonstrated correlation coefficients exceeding 0.90 between American truck deployment and Soviet tactical success across 340 separate engagements. The documentation revealed that American automotive assistance had effectively tripled Soviet logistics capability while consuming none of the Soviet Union's industrial resources, skilled labor, or raw materials. This assistance represented pure strategic advantage that enabled operations impossible using domestic capabilities alone. Petrov's analysis proved that Soviet forces equipped with American vehicles consistently achieved tactical objectives, maintained higher advance rates, and suffered lower casualty rates compared to units using Soviet transportation. The mathematical evidence eliminated any possibility that factors other than American logistics capability had determined Eastern Front outcomes. The strategic assessment concluded that American trucks had fundamentally altered the war's trajectory by providing Soviet forces with mobility advantages that German forces could not match despite their own mechanized superiority. The industrial war had been decided by American automotive production rather than battlefield performance or tactical innovation. The ultimate vindication of Colonel Petrov's analysis came from Nikita Khrushchev's 1963 admission that if we had had to fight Nazi Germany one-on-one, we would not have been able to cope. His statement acknowledged what Soviet military records had documented, but political considerations had prevented admitting. American assistance had been decisive. Khrushchev's specific reference to American trucks as absolutely critical to Soviet success represented the first public acknowledgement by Soviet leadership of what military professionals had known throughout the war. American automotive technology had provided the logistics capability that enabled Soviet offensive operations and ultimate victory. The admission vindicated decades of suppressed analysis by Soviet military professionals who had documented American vehicle contributions while being forbidden from acknowledging these realities publicly. Their mathematical proof had finally been confirmed by the highest levels of Soviet political leadership. Colonel Petrov's legacy lived on through his comprehensive documentation of American vehicle superiority that influenced post-war Soviet automotive development and military logistics planning. His analysis had preserved crucial historical evidence despite systematic attempts to conceal American contributions to Soviet victory. The Eastern Front had been won not by Soviet courage, tactical innovation, or industrial capability, but by American trucks that provided the logistics foundation enabling all subsequent Soviet military success. The mathematical evidence was overwhelming, the strategic implications were decisive, and the political cover-up had finally ended with acknowledgement of historical reality. In the vast archives of the Soviet military, Colonel Petrov's calculations remained as testament to professional integrity confronting political necessity. His documentation proved that American steel and gasoline had powered the Red Army to victory, regardless of what propaganda claimed or politics demanded. The trucks won the war, and the mathematics proved it, beyond any reasonable doubt.